GDP numbers are out, and the headline result is not great. We had a contraction in US GDP. The GDP shrunk by 0.3%, bringing us one step closer to the textbook definition of recession, which is two consecutive quarters of declining annual rate of GDP. This GDP decline was due to the tariffs, but not how you might expect. Trump's Liberation Day was on April 2nd, after all. So, how did tariffs impact quarter one 2025 GDP so much? First, we need to review the GDP formula, which is GDP is equal to consumer plus investments plus government spending plus the net exports. And this net exports is exports minus imports. And these net exports figure had the greatest impact on GDP. Trump was talking about implementing tariffs along the campaign trail and when he took office. When Trump announced his Liberation Day, wholesalers and companies now needed to quickly purchase raw and finished goods before the tariffs went into effect. This way, these businesses could buy the goods while these are still relatively cheap and then warehouse the goods somewhere instead of paying the higher price tag with the tariff. We can see from the BEA quote, within imports, the increase primarily reflected an increase in imported goods, led by consumer goods except food and automotive, and by capital goods except automotive. We can see that imports made the greatest negative contribution to GDP. Imports dragged GDP down 5 percentage points. Now we need to figure out if this is a one-time scenario. Perhaps if trade negotiations are favorable, especially between China and the US, then we could see the consumer stay strong and avoid high for long tariffs. But we need to remember that the effects of the actual tariffs take a while to feel. Apollo points out that it takes 20 to 40 days for container ships to arrive to the US. This is then followed with trucking demand coming to a halt. So if we see no deals, we could see a heavier economic environment. In the GDP results, consumer spending stayed positive, contributing around 1.5 percentage points to GDP. Albeit, this 1.5 is less than what we saw in 2024, which was between 2.5 and 3 percentage points. So we are seeing a slowdown in consumer spending, but not to the point of contraction. And this coincides with Visa's earnings saying consumer spending is resilient, even if, unfortunately, it does not feel like it.